Bill Clinton sat for me as his last official portrait as president. They said to me, now Platon, we want a nice dignified headshot. We don't want one of those weird wide angle numbers that you do. So I said to him, Mr. President, will you show me the love? And everyone in the room went dead silent. All his advisors, one of his advisors actually said, Mr. President, whatever you do, don't show him the love. So he said, shut up, I know what he means. 2 months later, I forgot about it, and Larry King comes on and he holds up my picture and he says, tonight we're talking about this. This is disgusting. It's all the photographer. He planned everything. The hands are big so he can feel you up. The legs are spread to present you with his manhood. And he said he's smiling, saying, I got away with it. And the tie is an arrow. I said to my wife, there goes my green card application.
I've had the rare opportunity to meet many amazing photographers who move through their different landscapes to create powerful images. I'm always inspired by how these images transform the way we see people and understand the world. A great photograph needs no explanation, but on Capture, these incredible people tell the story of creating their most memorable images. I'm Mark Seliger, and this is Capture. Hi, I'm Mark Seliger, and we are sitting in my studio in New York City. I'm delighted to be sitting with the great Platon and Dylan McDermott. You don't mind if we refer to you as a photographer, do you?
I don't know if I qualify.
Of course you qualify.
For me, my angle is probably different from your guys. I always search for people who feel like me. When I look at a photograph, it's an experience for me. I always look for this as a kid, is that I want somebody to feel what I feel, and that I can't always translate that in words, so I can do it in a picture and say, here, take a look at this. What does that make you feel?
When I look at this picture, Dylan, that's a scary photograph in a lot of ways. I mean, it really evokes everything that, people don't like to talk about.
That was a cop show that I had done, and because of my own personal history, I come from a violent past, and there were guns involved in my past, and I've always been interested in what a gun means, because it means so much in war, in protection, in violence. The gun has become heroic. The cowboy in America, the right to protect ourselves in the Constitution. There's so much around what a gun means that if you point a gun at somebody in a photograph, you can't help but feel something. I'm trying to translate and tell you something, as we all are, about who we are.
Right.
That you can live with somebody for years, and they don't have no clue who you are in the end. Mm-hmm. But a picture it lays it out there in a very concrete way.
Once you've done that, it's concrete to you. It's concrete to you when you do a picture. And I'm very clear when I do a picture of what it means to me. But how people read that picture then is
up to them.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's up to them.
And it changes a great deal.
Thinking about your work, which is expansive, it goes from very personal to environmental. You really do have like this crazy range of pictures, but I really love the antithetical power of your subject matter. I mean, Gadaffi and Willie Nelson, it doesn't get any better than that.
Both those pictures, what you see is not what you get. Willie Nelson resonated with America, and obviously I'm an Englishman, so I'm a foreigner in these lands, but I was aware that he's an American icon. And there's this picture of him with his eyes closed, sort of embracing the guitar. And people thought, wow, this is the man embracing his creativity. And the reality was that Willie had a little smoke or two before the shoot, and he was pretty out of it. There was a moment he almost fell off his chair, so I gave him...
He was resting.
He was resting. And holding onto his guitar for support in many different ways.
Which is also really interesting about it as another piece to him is that he uses the same guitar and has for many, many years. He's not like a musician that goes and grabs a new freshly tuned guitar. It's really his. This is a piece of Willie. So Dylan, where's your favorite place to take a picture?
Africa is just a remarkable place to take a camera. Going into Congo, which is probably the wound of the world. I went there because my mom, Eva Ensler, opened a safe house for women who are raped, and these women have nowhere to go. So she raised the money, and she built this incredible place in Bukavu. So I went there for the opening of this house, and took my camera and photographed the women there. And the sorrow and the depth of pain and complete absolute bliss at the same time, because there's an incredible happiness to them that I don't even normally see here. So I just
it's almost like survival
Yeah.
really spindles this experience of,
Right.
of life.
Every single moment is a picture.
I just came back from New Delhi, and I had the
Right.
exact same experience. I mean, everywhere you turn, there was like, you know, a photograph. It just kind of makes your head spin.
Oh, my
It's
God.
so incredible.
See, life, as they say, if you want to know about life, you go to India. And
It's true.
because everything happens in a moment. You got somebody's dead here, you have a funeral happening here, you have a wedding here, you have someone whose face has been burnt off, you have children running in the streets, you know, there's no running water or electricity, and you're just like in a smell, so you're just like, you're overwhelmed by life.
I was brought up in the Greek islands, so my first proper pictures were of the villages that I grew up with as a kid. And it's been a 25-year project, and I'm still adding to it. But it's a place I return to. And in this village in the mountains, doesn't change. I change, I'm getting older and more haggard, maybe more bitter with life's adversity, but the place stays beautifully simple and honest, and the people seem to be the same, even though somewhere like Greece right now is in turmoil politically. For me, that's a place I return to.
Amazing.
And it's the same thing I'm searching for that you both touched upon so eloquently. At the end of the day, photography is not about photographing someone who's powerful or famous, even for us. It's about being empowered with the tools to record something that's poignant and that means something. And I feel that we're all very privileged to feel that. If we're going to be happy and content in our lives as photographers or as human beings, we have to acknowledge that there's a beautiful moment now, and the universe is spinning around you right now. Around you right now. This is the magic bit. And if you're always feeling that it's better on the other side of the room, then it probably is. Photography has to empower us to say, actually, it goes back to what this is all about. This is the moment. I was at the United Nations General Assembly. I was waiting to photograph Obama after he'd made his speech backstage. Suddenly, there was this crowd swell of about 150 people coming towards us, and it was the Libyan delegation. And Gaddafi had heard that I was there doing these portraits of world leaders, and he chose that moment to sit for me. So he was walking in the middle of this crowd with a kind of slow motion defiance, surrounded by about 15 female bodyguards dressed head to foot in military clothing. It was like a scene from Star Wars. And he marched right up to me and gestured as if to say, I will sit for you, Mr. Platon, but I will do it under the nose of the White House administration. And that defiance, where he was actually defying America, he was doing it while Obama was making a speech a few feet away, and the White House sort of entourage were all standing there watching me take his picture. So he's defying America, and that defiance permeated the picture. And when you look at it now, you feel it.
Yeah, it's perfect.
But
that
the
way.
chilling bit for me was that when a year and a half later, on April the 20th, which was my birthday, I got the call that a friend and a colleague of mine, Tim Hetherington, the great photojournalist, had just been killed in Libya, covering the carnage that Gaddafi had caused. So as I got the news, I happened to be reprinting this picture, and I saw Gaddafi's giant face coming out of my printer, still defiant, still giving me the evil eye. Interesting, people look at that picture, but they don't realize why he was being so defiant. I mean, I love the idea of democracy with photographers. I don't believe one is more important than the other. I don't believe one is higher or lower than the other. I think it's a great honor to say you're a photographer. We are the documenters of our time.
I look at this picture of this woman laying across, it looks like, and I can't tell whether it's on a sofa, it's dark, there's like this kind of crazy mystery to it.
I was in Miami one New Year's Eve and I had my camera, and I just thought it would be interesting to document the night, and because people get crazy on New Year's Eve, right? There's a freedom to it that maybe there isn't in any other night of the year. I got to see people, and people let me take their pictures. I wasn't embarrassed to take their picture for that particular night. I don't know why. Maybe it was a new camera, or it was a new experience. So I took, I don't know, probably 200 pictures that night. But it was all of New Year's Eve and sort of the party or non-party, whatever you want to call it, of what people go through on that night.
I mean, do you find that the camera allow you to interact in a way that's special?
When you look at a picture, you can decide what it is. Yeah. And no one has to explain it to you.
The truth is, we're just documenting someone's existence. That's such a beautiful thing. The picture that you took just on a random day genuinely becomes the most valuable thing in your life, because that picture has the relationship in it, embedded in the surface of the print. I was approached by Human Rights Watch, and they said they had a problem. They said that they have all these statistics, but no one's interested. So they asked me to humanize them. We went to Egypt during the revolution, and I built a photo studio in the middle of Tahrir Square, and I invited the revolution to come and sit for me. There was this guy, and he would play songs like a kind of young Bob Dylan to everyone in the square every day to motivate people and say, come on, let's stay together, let's stay strong. So one night the authorities wanted to make an example of him. They ripped his shirt off and they began to taser his back as a torture. Now they had a policy that they will stop tasering once you start screaming. But this guy was so strong internally that he refused to scream, and they kept going until his back caught fire. He nearly died. They rushed him to hospital. 3 weeks later, the day he was released from hospital, he came to me. He took his shirt off. And I have never witnessed anything as extreme as this. I've never seen scars from a torture victim before. I burst into tears. He said, Platon, my friend, don't feel sorry for me, because I wear these marks on my back with great pride, because they're evidence of me changing my country for the better. And he said, I need your help. I want you to photograph me not as a victim, but as a victor, because when they hurt me more and more, I grew stronger and stronger. So I did this picture of him presenting me with the scars on his back, and he's holding his guitar like it's a weapon. That became like a poster for the revolution.
I think when you said storytellers, it's like that is the most powerful example of what it can be.
I've spent my professional life around this idea of power a lot, but power is something that's just borrowed. You can't keep it. There's a transference of power now going on in the world, and people are taking control from the powers that be. They're taking it back. And you're seeing it in revolution around the world. You're seeing it with technology is enabling people to do it, and photography is playing a huge role. But this notion that power is owned is completely wrong. Power is something that you borrow, and you borrow it, or you're entrusted with it with it's a privilege. And it's amazing, like all great revolutions, how everything that's pure is often hijacked by people who aren't so pure.
If you could only shoot one more subject in your life, who or what would it be?
Oh, that's a good one.
It's actually a simple answer, which would be my kids. You know, the love I have for them is the greatest love I know, and to photograph them, and I have since their birth. I go to the playground all the time with them, and I try to take shots of them because they feel comfortable with me once again, and I feel comfortable with them. And this particular shot was at my daughter's preschool. There was just this little veil that presented itself in this classroom. And I think that it was very telling because the mystery of it, the sort of out of focus, and you don't really know it's them, and you can't really tell it's them.
There's a haunting level to a lot of your pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, they really do. They have that kind of darkness.
It's hard to penetrate with words sometimes because they've lost their meaning somewhere. I think that a picture can explain something that maybe I can't get to or don't have the vocabulary to get to.
So it is an emotional experience.
It's emotional for me, really. It's a translation.
Hearing that from you, you're more of a photographer than you think, because that's what we do. We find ourselves in a situation, and it can be photographing a relative of yours or a best friend. It doesn't have to be someone well known or someone sort of important in society by any means, but you want to convey to people who weren't there what you felt like.
Yeah.
And that's certainly what I've always tried to do. I know that's what you do. And I actually don't think of myself as a photographer anymore. I think of myself as a storyteller. One of the most amazing things I discovered about the idea of who is a photographer was when I was working with Aung San Suu Kyi. I photographed her just a couple of days after she was released from house arrest. I said to her, "What happened when you came out of your house for the first time?" And she said, "The strangest thing happened to me." She said, "I came out and they were like, it felt like thousands of people, well-wishers, all outside, but they were all doing something really strange." So I said, "What is it?" And she said, "They were all holding their phones in the air." And she said, "Why were they doing that?" And I said, "There's cameras in the phones. They were taking your picture." And she said, "There's cameras in phones?" Right. She didn't know. Those are the people that are actually capturing perhaps the most important stuff. It's not even people like you and me. I think all this technology has empowered us incredibly, but it's also robbing us of something. It's robbing us of the importance of interaction. And this three-way conversation for me is a lovely experience because we're not emailing each other or we're not even talking on the phone. I'm able to look into your eyes and I'm able to see and feel how you respond to something I say, and you're able to do the same with me.
It's incredible because it's like everybody is suffering from ADD. And no one can focus anymore. And I think they've done studies that a person can only look at it, an image or a YouTube clip or something like that, 40 seconds. That's the average now.
That's crazy. We have to slow the process down. You have to be observant. You have to make it your top priority. And you can't do it while you're doing 5 other things.
I think it's the notion that whatever is over there is more important than what is here.
Yeah.
I think that we're living in this disposable society, and everybody is obsessed with documenting their life because it goes by so fast. Everybody's obsessed with the same thing, which is like, does my life have meaning?
I remember I was walking down the street, and then I passed an old barber shop, and on the wall he had a picture of JFK, beaten up old picture. He had a picture of Martin Luther King, and then he had a picture of my Clinton picture. That's the award. I mean, awards to me generally are like badges of mediocrity. It doesn't mean anything. But when it resonates with someone connects with something that we wanted to say, then it means we succeeded. It means we reached someone. And that's what we do it for. We do it to reach someone and tell someone or try to move someone with a sensation that we felt. And that's a beautiful experience.
Dylan, thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Mark, for having me.
Enjoyed having you in my studio. And Platon, thank you very much for always hearing incredible stories of the journey.
I think we're very thrilled to do this, and it also shows a great generosity in you. That someone in your position of success also is humble and very aware of their surroundings. So, it's a good sign. Do you get nervous about the confrontation?
In India, because of the religious stuff, you know, sometimes I felt like I was invasive. There's actually one, I don't think I showed it today, but he had, his face was all burned, and he had a handkerchief on to cover his burn. He caught me when I took his picture, and I felt embarrassed that I had violated him somehow.
Wouldn't you like to quit your job and live the life you've always dreamed of?
You're really living the dream, I would imagine, the expat dream.
I feel more free here than I do in the States.
This is it, man. This is the life.
Join me, Savannah Jane Buffett, as I follow two buddies from college who quit their grueling office jobs and moved down to St. John to be bartenders in paradise. Now they're not just serving drinks, they've created the #1 microbrew in the Caribbean.
I looked out and there was about 30 cubicles. And at that moment I said, I can't.
I knew I wanted to roll the dice and that I wanted to take a break from what I was doing. Nice place to live, don't you think?
Not bad.
It was a very surreal feeling because this was all new to me. This was going to be my new home. At that point, we knew we were all in.
They're the lucky guys, man. They make beer for a living on an island.
It's just two guys hanging out in the Caribbean and brewing some great beer and, you know, living the dream, I guess.